Alright, so you want to start raiding in Guild Wars 2, but might not know where to begin. Today, I'm going to be giving you the information you need to get started. The first thing you need to do is pick a build to play. I recommend heading to snowcrows.com. So this is what Snowcrows looks like, and to find the builds, you just head to raid builds and pick the class that you want to play. Let's head to Ranger, and let's play the Power DPS class. You'll definitely want to start out with a DPS class. Usually support classes need a thorough understanding of the fights to perform their job well, and the whole group will be punished if the support doesn't do what they're supposed to. If a DPS class isn't doing the most damage, the boss might take a little bit more time to kill, but that's about it. So looking at the Power Soul Beast build, you can scroll down, you can see the armor, the weapons, the runes, sigils, trinkets, the food utility. There's a whole lot of information for you to get started with. First, we'll be getting the gear. For power classes, it's pretty simple. Just head to the trading post, sort by armor or weapons, and filter based on the stats you want. Zeds, Devonas, and Nikas are extremely cheap armor for level 80 Berserker stats. While you're at the trading post, make sure to grab your runes and sigils, or you can craft them if you like, it's up to you. Runes go into your armor, sigils go into your weapon, and both of them give you a crazy DPS increase. Non-Berserker gear is a little more difficult to come across. You can get the recipes and craft them yourself, or alternatively, if you play a lot of PvP or World v World, you might have some Warlord's armor boxes around. These are level 80 exotic armor that are completely stat selectable. Super convenient to have. After you get your armor, weapons, runes, and sigils, don't forget about the trinkets. I recommend Ascended trinkets because you can swap them between characters, and they aren't much harder to get than the exotic trinkets. Berserker trinkets can be purchased with laurels, and fully stat selectable trinkets can be purchased with Living World Season 3 and 4 currencies, as well as Eternal Ice. After armor, weapons, runes, sigils, and trinkets, the last part of our gear is the food and utility. For most food and utility, you can buy them from the trading post, or you can craft them yourself. These do make a difference in your DPS, and you'll definitely want to pick them up. No matter what, stay away from writs. They're extremely expensive, and only offer a DPS increase if you're running with a fully experienced group. All writs require you to be at 90% HP or above, and if your supports aren't doing the best, the normal utilities will be just as effective as the writs. The next step is installing Arc DPS. This is a tool that lets you see your DPS during the fights, and will give you access to logs after the fight is done. To install Arc DPS, go to deltaconnected.com/arcdps, scroll all the way to the bottom and click on the link here. You want to download d3d9.dll, and once you're done downloading this, you're going to want to put it in your bin64 folder. This is usually the path to the bin64 folder, so you can just click through until you find bin64 and just drop it in here. Now I'll swap to my Soul Beast, and since we have our gear and Arc DPS installed, we're almost ready to practice our rotation on the Golem. For practicing the rotation, let's head to Lion's Arch Aerodrome. This is just south of Lion's Arch, and there's a portal that takes you directly to it. Once you're loaded in, you'll need to make a 10-man squad. Don't worry, you don't need a commander tag for this. Once in Lion's Arch, you're going to want to head over to the left to the Special Forces training area. Once inside, you want to run all the way down until you see the panels, and this is where you're going to change all the settings. Before we get started with our rotation, you're going to want to make sure you have the correct utilities and traits, so it's easy enough. You just come back to the Snowcrows website, scroll down just below the gear, and you have the utility skills and the traits. They also give you some variations, and if you want even more information, you can click on the raid guides in the top right, and it'll give you everything you need for every fight. So once you've got your utilities and traits, you can scroll down a little more, and it has the rotation. So for Soul Beast, you can play either Longbow or Greatsword, and it gives you the rotation for each. They even have a YouTube video that showcases the rotation. If you copy the URL and paste it, usually in the description of the video, there will be a link to the log. This will definitely come in handy later. So to start learning the rotation, you're going to need to understand how Snowcrows breaks down their rotations. So it always starts with the opener. You're going to do this every time you start a boss, and sometimes even phases of the boss. Then you'll go into a loop, and sometimes a loop 2. Soul Beast is fairly easy, it just has one loop and an opener. So you do the opener, and then you do the loop, and you continue the loop. If you have any questions about the rotation, just refer to the video and do exactly what they're doing. To summon the golem, you're going to want to come over to the golem spawner, click on spawn a golem, pick whichever size that they have in the video. Benchmarks and rotation practice should always be done on 4 million HP. And then to add conditions, you click on additional options, add conditions, and you're going to want to copy the conditions that they have in the video. Sometimes classes have traits that increase their damage based on a certain condition on the boss, like Chronomancer's was slow, or just the number of conditions on the boss. So once you've picked your conditions, you can spawn the golem, and you'll see it right in the center over here. And it has all the conditions that we selected. To add boons onto yourself, you come over to the arena console, you click on adjust self and add boons. You're going to want to do the same thing with conditions and copy what they have in the benchmark video. For profession specific enhancements, there are a couple stock standard ones that you'll have in almost every raid. So from Ranger, you'll usually have Spotter, Sun Spirit, and Frost Spirit. And then from Warrior, you'll have 2 banners, and for the benchmarks they put on Empower Allies, you usually won't have this in a raid, but if you're comparing yourself to the benchmark, you're going to want to have the same conditions as the benchmark. To practice your rotation, simply use your abilities in the order Snowcross has listed. If you're practicing your rotation and mess up by cancelling Longbow 5 like I just did, you can resummon the golem by coming over to the golem spawner, click on remove my current golem, and respawn my previous golem. This will keep the same size, HP, and conditions on the golem. If you're waiting for your cooldowns, you can use the special action key to immediately refresh all of your skills. As you can see, Arc DPS gives you some information, so it shows the total damage that I've done so far, my cleave per second, and my target per second. Since I'm only hitting one thing, my cleave per second and my target per second are the same. To set this up, you can go to display, and right here I have it at 1, at 2, and at 5. These are my settings. You can change it to whatever you want. If you want even more information, you can click on your name and it pulls up a second window. It gives you the abilities that are doing the most damage, it shows you your crit chance, your flanking percentage, and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you are done with a benchmark and you want to check your log, you have to make sure that the golem is killed or despawned. These function as the same. Killing it counts as a success in the log, and removing it counts as a failure, not a big deal. To find your log, you're going to want to pull up the Arc DPS menu with Alt-Shift-T. You're going to want to go to logging. Make sure you have save log encounters on, and then I have a couple settings to make organizing logs a little bit easier. I have it saved as the NPC name and the player name. Then you're going to want to click on open, and from here you can find your boss, and then since we were on one of the golems, we can go to the medium kitty golem, and then on the character that we were in. So what you're going to want to do is drag and drop this file into dps.report. This is a very convenient website that puts all the information you need into a nice viewable source. So this was our log. It counts as a failure because I ended it early. And you can see your rotation by going to player summary and simple rotation. If you want to compare yourself to the actual benchmark, I'm going to have this link in the description. It's a great website that you paste your log into, and it will directly compare it to the benchmark of the build that you're playing. So the benchmark rotation is going to be in green, and yours is going to be in blue just under it. It will give you grades based on your performance, and it will tell you where you can improve. Once you're done learning your rotation, you can head back to the Snorkros website and click on their raid training tab. Here they have a few discords linked, and in the discords the instructors will teach you how the fight works, the mechanics of the fight, and how to kill the boss. If you don't want to join a training discord, you can head to dolphy.net. Here they have guides on the raid bosses. They're a little bit outdated, but the mechanics of the fights haven't changed at all. The only thing that is outdated are the comps. As you can see, there's a whole lot of information to take in, and that's why I would recommend the training discords. You can ask questions, and everyone's usually friendly. Alright, and that wraps up everything Raids the Basics. I have a few videos planned up next of raid builds, where I tell you where it's good, why it's good. I talk about the traits and their synergies, along with some tips and tricks. Let me know in the comments what builds you want to see, and don't forget to follow my Twitch in the description.